It's Nigel. It's Nigel. Say hi. Say hello. Are you barking at everything that you hear outside of the door? Yes. Do you think you're protecting Mama? Yes. Tell the people hello. Well, Nigel made it with us to the States. He did so good. He did have some chaotic moments where he was a little panicked, a little stressed, but he did great on all. How many flights did we have? Four flights we had to get here. Huh? So he did good. Anyway, hey, hi, hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Jess. Obviously, this is Nigel. This is part 2 from last week's video, and somebody is tired, so I may go put him down. Put the baby down for a nap. So originally I said in this video that I was going to talk about the Penguin Random House case versus the Department of Justice that's ongoing right now. Today, as I'm filming this, is August 3rd. It's the 3rd day they're in court. But I feel like, so someone sent me a thread of this guy who's live tweeting the entire thing, and so giving like updates and like statements from the judge and the people with the publishing companies and people they're calling for witnesses, including Stephen King. And I feel like it might be, I don't know when this comes out, I might have already done it, but if you haven't seen it, maybe doing like weekly lives, just updating and talking about it, because there's so much information and I just can't put out a video every day. Yeah, I can't do that. So look out for those. But that case is going on right now, just started. Honestly, I'm trying to find someone who understands law better than me, because I won't say I have a good grasp on it, but from what I was reading in the Publisher's Weekly article, which I'll link below, I am kind of worried about the DOJ's chances of winning just based on what they seem to be focusing on in the case. And what they are focusing on, it seems like, is that if Penguin Random House does merge with Simon & Schuster, that the authors won't be able to get as big advances. Like, it doesn't seem from what I read that they were focusing on how much of the market they would take up, and like how Penguin Random House is already the biggest one. They merged with Simon & Schuster, then there's only the other 3 left, which are Hachette, Macmillan, and HarperCollins. So Hachette, Macmillan, HarperCollins are the other 3, and then it would be Penguin Random House, Simon & Schuster, whatever their name is. And Penguin Random House is like, well, there's other ones too. There's Disney and there's Amazon and there's Scholastic, and nothing really is gonna change. So very nervous about that, but I'll be doing those live streams to try to keep you updated as best as I can. But just fair warning, I am not a lawyer. But in this one, so this one is gonna be shorter because I'm taking that part out, and obviously in the last video I said I was splitting these up because my internet connection isn't great. So the other video was like 36 minutes and the starting time was 2 hours and 34 minutes to upload to YouTube. So struggles. Okay, so the first thing I wanted to talk about was Joyce Carole Oates, who I've always heard of, but I've never read anything by her. I know she's some old white lady and she just be popping up on Twitter because she be yapping and flapping her gums, always saying some dumb stuff. And her recent dumb thing she said was she tweeted an article called "There's More Than One Way to Ban a Book." It's really long. I'll link it. I kind of looked through it, but they were basically talking about like, just because a book makes it to be published doesn't mean it still can't be banned, and it doesn't even have to be a traditional ban. Like, if it gets past all of the editors, now people have to get sensitivity readers and publishers and people and librarians and whatever people on Twitter can decide to, you know, talk bad about the book or not push the book, not shelve the book, or not highlight the book, and that's another form of book ban, whatever. Joyce then said, "A friend who is a literary agent told me that he cannot even get editors to read first novels by young white male writers. No matter how good, they are just not interested. This is heartbreaking for writers who may in fact be brilliant and critical of their own privilege." Spare us, Joyce. Are you kidding me? First little Jamesy and now Joyce with the editors or agents don't even want to read novels by young white male writers. Now, James Patterson was saying older white male writers were struggling, which they're not. And now she said young white male writers are struggling, which I'm pretty sure they're not. I don't have the numbers. But my problem with this and why I bring this up, because you could just be like, ignore, because I don't follow her, is that this rhetoric is continuously coming up and is going to keep coming up with how the country, the United States, is shifting towards this theocracy. And it's this false theory of this white replacement theory that like, oh no, all the marginalized people are gonna come in and the white people are gonna be the minority. And it's just so funny because you're like, well, why are y'all so pressed though? Why are you so worried about being the minority? Mayhaps because you know y'all treat us like shit. But seriously though, it's troublesome that these takes are the new norm, it seems like, and by people with massive platforms and lots of money who are white being like, oh no, if you're white, you're really not gonna be able to succeed out here because they're just letting these black and brown people and whatever people get by, and they're really not getting by on merit. It's really just because of what marginalized group they belong to, essentially, is what she's saying. And what anybody feeding into this is saying, and it's not good. It's not looking good, bro. It's not looking good. So fuck Joyce, fuck James, and yeah, don't be surprised when you see more people who are going to keep saying this. So I just wanted to bring that up, but know that white replacement theory is a white, basically a white nationalist bullshit made up theory. Now this next thing, I'm not going to show the tweet that, I'm not going to say sent me over the edge, but made me want to address this because it's not the first time that I've seen this. So, my beloved S.A. Chakraborty, Shannon, who wrote the David Bod trilogy, The City of Brass, The Kingdom of Copper, The Empire of Gold, has often been, and still is, the subject of a conversation. And what I usually see and what I saw in this tweet is people will find out, I don't know, maybe they were reading her books via audio or ebooks, and maybe they buy the book and they turn to the back flap, or they start following her on social media, or maybe they give a Google and they see her photo and they're like, Chakraborty, Shannon, a white woman? And they're just shocked. And some people are just like, huh, I didn't know that, and keep about their day. And then some other people are upset about it. And so the tweet I saw was talking about feeling like her using S.A. Chakraborty, which is her married name, her, she took her husband's last name instead of at least using Shannon along with her last name, felt deceitful, felt like, what did they else they said? They said it felt deceitful and like she was trying to, I guess, give off the image of being a brown person. This person said that they felt duped and that her using using initials felt manipulative. And I just find that odd because women who have written fantasy books for decades now have abbreviated their names because, sexism, and a lot of people, if they just see a name that they deem to be feminine, wouldn't want to pick up their work, and people still do it now. And for various reasons, right? Maybe it's not because of that. Maybe you write work under a different name, maybe your full name, you write a different genre, and you want the specific genres you write in to be separated. So it's just it's not some new thing that women use abbreviations. They also said they found it similar to like if a man uses a more feminine sounding name when they're writing thrillers. And other people think this is not just this one person. That's why I didn't put up this tweet. And they were a black person saying it's not my community, and neither it is mine. I'm not Muslim. And I'm not from the Middle East, but to say that it's deceptive or deceitful, I think is a bit much, because from what I've seen, I have never found that she was trying to be anything other than who she is. She converted to Islam in her teens, I'm pretty sure, and then she met her husband later in life, but she found comfort and a great community within Islam, and so she converted. And then I think that it said like she studied Middle Eastern studies, she went to Cairo, and not to say just because you do all these things you're qualified to write a book, right? But she has been in the faith for a long time, that you've met her husband, which would make sense because she's in the faith. And she did a lot of research for her books. So I just wanted to, because if you Google her, it comes up as a white woman. Her next books that are coming out are going to be published under Shannon. And I haven't found a specific reason why she chose to do SA, but I would probably guess because, you know, she was like, well, these are my first published books. Maybe it's better to do initials. I don't know. Doesn't matter. It's not like she was trying to hide who she was. That's not how I feel. But anyway, if you go to her website, it has a picture of her. I'll put it here. And it says Shannon Chakraborty is the author of the critically acclaimed The David Bond trilogy, and it talks about that. And then it says, please note, while Chakraborty is my last name, I'm a white convert to Islam, a faith and community that I found great solace in, and one that has significantly influenced my work. Though I prefer to keep much of my personal life private, particularly how it relates to my family, I've talked about my background in a number of interviews, here and here in particular, if you're interested in reading more. And so I went to the first one, which was the Kirkus interview, and I'll link it down below if you want to read the whole thing. But in referencing her background and how she came to write these books, the interview says, the seeds that would eventually blossom into the city of brass were planted more than a decade ago. After converting to Islam in her teens, the New Jersey native spent time studying abroad in Cairo, where she heard stories of ceremonies used to expel jinn from human hosts. Her interest piqued. She began to explore that new side of Islam more deeply, not knowing at the time that all she learned would one day make its way into a novel. I had decided when writing this, she says, that those were my rules. If I couldn't find a reference to something in a text or in a story from the region, then I wasn't using it. By the time she began seriously working on the book, about 3 or 4 years ago, however, her life had changed. I was older, I was in a different place in my life, and I was a parent. I was living in Brooklyn and working with a youth organization through my mosque, and it became very disturbing to see, especially, how our young men are viewed in Western media. They're kids, they want to change the world, and they're burning with this desire to do good. And that's such a wonderful quality, but I've seen how that can be misconstrued while it's not misconstrued for teenagers of other communities. Our young people, our girls and our boys, should have representation, people that they can look up to as heroes. While Chakraborty's novel, the first in a trilogy, will have broad appeal, she had a very specific audience in mind. I really wrote it for my community, she says. I did not expect to ever sell this book. I wrote it more for myself and my friends and people who love reading science fiction and fantasy. But I've confronted this, and again, I'm a privileged member of my community, a white convert. You open this book and it's cool and you're enjoying the story, and then bam, there's a cliche or something offensive. As a Muslim, it's very frustrating to love the genre. There's only so long you can grin and bear it. I wanted people in my community to be able to read this and enjoy it. And so I think that just speaks to her intention. Again, I am not part of the Muslim community, so if anyone watching is and has thoughts on this, I would love to hear it. That just is my perspective of, you know, discovering the City of Brass. I didn't even know who wrote it, and then when I got a copy and I saw it was her and I enjoyed the book, following her social media, I've never felt like she tried to come across as something of a different, you know, race than she is, or ethnicity. So I just would like your thoughts. I did see this TikTok from a Muslim creator who talked about this, and I don't know how long it is. Maybe I can put it in here or link it.
I know there's a conversation being had about S.A. Chakraborty, the author of The City of Brass, or Shannon, if that's what you want to call her, and her usage of Islamic, MENA and South Asian representation. Now, I do want to preface this by saying I am a Muslim woman, quite evidently. This is not just for funsies. I am a hijabi, and I am also a Middle Eastern woman, so I do feel like I am allowed to talk about this situation. With that being said, I will not touch on anything to do with South Asian culture, mythology, blah, blah, blah. That's not my place. I don't want to overstep, but I will be talking about, yeah. Something I do think that is being left out kind of conveniently by a lot of people is the fact that Shannon is an Islamic convert. Now, for a lot of people who don't know what that means she converted, she became a Muslim, and she did this in her teenage years before she met her husband. This is something she was interested in, something that she chose to do by herself. And even if she did do it with her husband, that's her prerogative, that's her whatever. The reason why I bring that up is because there is an active conversation on whether she should be allowed to use these mythologies. Islamic in particular, I do think she should. She is a Muslim. I mean, if anyone's going to write about Islamic mythology, I do think a Muslim should be part of it. And I do think she has some of the best Muslim representation that I have seen in any fantasy book. I mean, Ali Zaid, forever my favourite Muslim character ever. he uses Islamic terms, and I see it throughout this book. And I know that is quite controversial to some people, but me as a Muslim woman, I do appreciate seeing my religion being painted in a way that isn't harmful for once, just once. In terms of the usage of Middle Eastern mythology or like North African and all that, I do want to preface this by saying that Shannon actually did international relations at uni with a focus on Middle Eastern cultures. By that, I think we can assume that this is a well-educated woman. This is a woman who knows what she's talking about, a woman who's well-versed in what she sees, blah, 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 blah. And that is more than I can say for a lot of people who write books on my culture. I do want to make very clear that Shannon is a white woman. What she writes about my culture is incredibly important because it has real life effects. It has effects on people like me, my parents, my family, my friends. People don't really get that, but this is a reality that we live in. Everything you read, everything you consume has a direct impact, and then we have to live throughout that impact. As a Middle Eastern woman, do I feel like this book represented me? Yes. As a Muslim woman, absolutely. This is just my opinion. You are more than welcome to disagree with me. I welcome that entirely. But I do think a lot of people who are not part of these communities are speaking up when it's not their place to do so. Also, I do think that there are authors out there, Sarah J. Maas, who have absolutely butchered my culture and nobody wants to talk about it. And instead we praise her. So how about we start that conversation? Because...
And granted, I know that's just one person from a group does not like excuse something or make it okay, but that was the only video it just came across my feed, and I just thought it was interesting. So I just would love to hear anyone's thoughts on that. I keep seeing it every now and then, and I'm like, I don't think she's like hiding her face on the internet. She's not hiding behind, you know, just like an avatar. Like, it's her there. She's done interviews. Like, she is easy to find on the internet. I don't think she's trying to like dupe anybody, is what I'm saying. So let me know your thoughts. And then for the last thing today, so this won't be super long, but woe is me, tired of seeing the same nonsense. I have two different sets of tweets. The first one is a tweet with a bunch of pictures, mostly of young adult fantasy books. And the person said, "My fellow fantasy book readers, you can only read 3 of these for the rest of your life. Which ones do you choose?" Someone quote tweeted this and said, "Inheritance Games is not a fantasy at all, and no black fantasies for what?" And the person said, "It's fantasy on Goodreads though. Have we learned nothing? Goodreads is not reliable." And they said, "But I'm telling you, as someone who loves the series, there's not a single fantasy element in it. Also, you ignored my question." I did ignore your question. I only put books I know most people like, and I'm an Asian myself. I don't know any black fantasy. I only put books I know most people like, and I'm an Asian myself. I don't know any black fantasy. The children are not okay. And then the other tweet was 2 people talking about a book. This person had just read, I think, Ice Planet Barbarians, was asking for another recommendation. And the person said, "I'm all for crazy fantasy books, but I don't know about alien porn, but maybe one day. You should read this. It's so fucking cute." And they have my whole heart, is what I think. I think they said it got cut off. It's The Worst Best Man by Mia Sosa, which I loved. A contemporary romance. We have a black Latina and a white dude, so interracial romance. And they said, "I don't know, this will sound wrong, but I can't read those types of books because I can't relate to the characters. I don't have brown skin, you know? And when they describe her, I will lose the idea that it's me in the book." Wait, what? You read to relate to the characters and can relate to weird aliens? I don't want to argue. I will read what I want, and you can too. I want to argue, and you didn't answer my question. Like, the youth is not okay. I can't relate to the characters. I don't have brown skin, you know? And when they describe her, I will lose the idea that it's like me in the book. So you don't know any black fantasy, and now this person can't relate because the woman is not white. I need a margarita. This is out of control. And people say this all the time, but it is so true. How do you read books with aliens and orcs and whatever various animals and things, and you can't relate? And they'll probably be like, well, that's because those love interests are always men, but the women are human. It doesn't matter. It's still weird. Enjoyable to some people. I haven't read any, but still weird that you can't read a book with two human people and enjoy it, but you can with fictional creatures. And math is not mathing. I am concerned. And then the other one, you don't know any black young adult fantasy. Look, as hard as I try to mute it, you know how often legend porn is on my timeline? Every day I'm suffering. Every day I see legend porn. What is there? Wings of Ebony. What is it? I was about to say a psalm for the Wings of Ruin. Wow. That's not it. But all the pictures here, I can't think of names, but that's because I'm an old. This person obviously was taking time to go get screen grabs of the book. And so usually when you're doing that, whether you're on a website shopping for books, you're on Goodreads, they show other books that are kind of like that. And I know at one point something popped up, even if it wasn't in your mind. And it was like, you like this? Maybe you'll like this. And it was a black fantasy. Don't play. Don't play. You know, sometimes people have faith in the youth. I don't. Sometimes. But most of the time, no. They are not well. This is not good. I don't get it. Okay, that doesn't matter. My battery's about to die. Maybe I'll insert that in a different clip. But let me know your thoughts about all of these things down below. Like, subscribe, check out my description, stay blessed, hydrated, moisturized, and sunscreen, and I'll see you in my next one.